So after Navy failed, they looked around, and Aceh Baba, over there's a hill, when you're in Cape Helles, you will see it behind. So they looked around, if we get that hill, then we can put howitzers and destroy forts, over. Yeah. And to do that, in Britain, they prepared the howitzer, 15-inch howitzer. Only, they say, 12 were built, one was sent to Western Front, to use against German armies. And with 50 shells, which was here, on a ship. But British never succeeded, to get Ahi Baba, hill 217. So never put howitzer and never bombarded, Turkish force by that, howitzer, then it was taken back. So virtually another replica of, that war fought before in Korea. And plan was simple. When Navy failed, land an army there, another one over there, Princess operation. So occupy this plateau. When they occupied that plateau, from rear, destroy forts first on the European side, and then minefields, and then force on this side. And from there on further, no Turkish defenses, and then take Navy with Marmara, occupy Istanbul, knock Turkey out of the war, help Russia, and then help Balkans, because Bulgaria, Greece, Romania is still neutral, in 1915, and they could turn the British. So this was the strategy. Good strategy, actually, but did not work because material or man use not enough. If they put more man, Turks would put more man, so it would, drag on and on. I don't know how long it could, last. So if it continued, I'm sure both sides' casualties would be enormous, And a German historian said, Turks, forever, they have rights to control this channel, because in 1915 they did tremendous, sacrifice to stop Allies here. So we lost so heavily, because all battlefields, when you visit, you will see, happened in the range of naval artillery. And Cape Helles, like 5 kilometers deep, Anzac almost 600-700 yards, Sula the same, just Turkish lines always under naval bombardment. Imagine, Navy devastated Turkish lines, and that's why Turkish casualties were so high in the campaign. If we had German howitzers, proper howitzers, Anzac, for example, 600 acres, totally. If we had like 1 million, German artillery or British artillery, they say in Western Front used like 5 million, shells in 2 weeks. If we had that sort of artillery here, imagine, Anzac maybe in 3 days could be, finished. But we didn't have, that sort of artillery, so dragged on and on. So in the end, when Ian Hamilton was relieved, then Monroe took the command, came from France and got the command of British Army, and Bulgaria joined the war on our side. And then Germans started building railways and then bridges to bring howitzers into Gallipoli. And Monroe was saying to British, now we have 2 options. Soon Turks will get German artillery, and 3 days bombardment could finish Anzac. And now we go or stay here till Turks get artillery and drive us in the sea. So which one better? So British didn't want. What about our prestige in the Muslim world? We never get, evacuate from Gallipoli. But seeing this possibility, because soon Turks would have artillery German, Austro-Hungary Empire sent a few motorized howitzers to Anzac, and one of them was put on third ridge and fired a shell into Courtney and steel spots. 13 Australians were killed in a trench. And they found out that Turks were getting proper artillery, because only guns we could use in Anzac, mountain guns. Even field guns couldn't be used in Anzac because of territory not suitable. In Cape Helles, only field guns could be used, but these guns, small guns, not very effective. And Germans, used Zeppelins, to carry shells to Turkey over the Balkans, but only 100 shells could be carried. And then they built a factory in Istanbul, and then producing shells, but Anzac say only one out of 20 went off. The others just like a dot, hit, then didn't go off. One Turkish officer said in memoirs, one day our artillery by mistake bombarded our trenches, nobody died, then we found out they were useless. And even New Zealanders diary I read, they say we were like 10 of us, a shell came and just landed, among us, and we were in flames, but none of us died, And so artillery, power Turkish is not very strong. That's why Turkish army depend on manpower. That's why it is very costly. So what we wanted to do, fix the bayonets and go, you know, and drive. But machine gun rifle fire just cut the man, you know, as soon as, you know, they went out the trench. Like a Chonic Bear, you know, attack Atatürk did on the 10th of August. Just, you know, 1,000 British on top, another 1,000 behind, 5,000 Turks in advance. And we were able to drive, you know, British from the top, but what it cost. New Zealanders say, when we looked slopes, we could count the 5,000 Turks lying dead and wounded. So that was the cost to get a tiny bit of that land. Yeah. You know, there. That's why, for us, it was very costly. But it's home country, so we, you know, did, you know, everybody will do the same in home, you know, kind of defense. You know, so we did, so we managed. But we lost the war in the end. 3 years later, LNB defeated Ottoman armies in Palestine. Then Turkey, you know, as you know, carved up by allies, and even Greeks, you know, occupied Turkey. So for us, it was 10 years war. Started in 1912 with Balkan Wars, which finished, and then 10 months later, First World War, and finished in 1918. Another year later, Greeks invaded Turkey, so another war started. So 10 years, you know, we had war. In the end, we were able to make, you know, this country, but what a, you know, price, what a cost we suffered in a very heavy. But final thing I should say here concerning Dardanelles, in 1922, when we defeated Greeks, Turkish army came here and British was here. And British moved, you know, a division from Egypt to here, and British ship patrolling. Turkish army came, you know, in 1922, known as Çanak Crisis. It's not very well known or written in history books. So British and Turks again on the verge of another war, you know, 7 years later. But Atatürk didn't want another war against British. But Lord Church wanted another war, you know, and wrote to Australia, New Zealand, Canada to get troops to fight, you know, use Turks against Turkey again, 7 years. I read in Australian books, Australian government accepted. New Zealand, you know, 14,000 people volunteered in New Zealand to fight Turks against 7 years later, you know, in 1922. Canada accepted, but when Turks didn't attack, no reason, then Lord Church cabinet dissolved, and then Irish problem helped us, you know, very much, because British thought to suppress Turkish national movement, at least they needed like 500,000–600,000 men, you know, and that's why we're very grateful to Irish, you know, people. So British couldn't get, you know, strong army, you know. So good, you know, coincidence, yeah. And so in the end, British, okay, we will agree. So in 1923, we buried the hatchet. Churchill, I studied his life and opinions. He actually wanted to bury the hatchet with Turks and have a treaty, you know, and warned. And he said to Lord George, "You are pushing Turks to Russian hands." Because Russian communist revolution, you know, happened over there. So Russia started backing Turkey. So if they attacked on Turkey, then turn into Russia-British war again, because Russia didn't want British to get this area. So after long discussions and talks, etc., British decided to evacuate Gallipoli. So after Lausanne Treaty in 1923, British left, but it was like demilitarized. We couldn't put army. Till 1936, in 1936, Montreux Treaty was signed, just before Second World War, and there was another war in Europe. Atatürk, you know, saw that and applied to allies, and he said, "I want to build forts and defense here because there's another war." Because Italy attacked on Ethiopia already, and so British didn't want Turkey most probably to go to German side, maybe in the Second World War. So willy-nilly had to, you know, accept this. So now Turkish army, you know, controls this area after Montreux, you know, Reggie. International, you know, waters. There are limits, like ships more than 200, 300 meters cannot get through the Dardanelles, etc. And just a few years ago, Russia built an aircraft carrier, but they couldn't take it through the Turkish Straits, you know. And then eventually they sold it to China, and then went through the Dardanelles into China. And Americans said to us, "Why do you allow this ship, you know, and not to get trouble with Russia?" We said, "Okay, go," because it didn't have guns and stuff, you know, just you know,
just a hull.
So I don't know what China is doing with that ship. They said, like, you know, show or something, training. Maybe they will make an aircraft carrier. And I saw while going, very huge ship, you know, while going through here, almost whole area was covered. When you look, you couldn't see the village behind. Very huge ship there. So this is the naval, you know, story. A bit, you know, land, a bit, you know, politics, which gives you like a, you know, perspective of the campaign.